What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with a Star Wars comic book market update. And as always, I'm going to be talking about the sales prices for CGC 9.8s, but adjust your budget accordingly. Look at lower grade books, look at ungraded books, whatever works for you. But I'm going to be talking about everything from the very, very low end of the range all the way up to several $100s. And the focus is mainly going to be on the recent Book of Boba Fett character debuts, specifically Black Krrsantan, the Wookiee bounty hunter, and how that is affecting the price for his first appearance book on the market, and Dr. Aphra, who, you know, he's very closely tied to Dr. Aphra in her comic book series. So we're already starting to see the prices heat up for Dr. Aphra related books. And I think now is the time to get her first appearance book, as well as other issues that you know might be better within your budget. Because I think that if she makes an appearance in the Book of Boba Fett or in some later, other Disney Plus series, the prices are gonna absolutely explode, and they're already jumping up now. I think by the time you see this video, I'm recording this on January 6th, but I got kind of a backlog of other videos I've already made. So by the time you see this, I think that these prices may even be outdated, because I've already seen a massive jump just in the last 24 hours in her first appearance book and some of the other books. So let's go ahead and dig right in. And the first one I wanted to talk about is one that we haven't really mentioned yet on the channel, but that's Star Wars Dr. Aphra number 10. And a seller had a number of different versions of this book that all sold at auction. And I wanted to bring it up because it's the first cameo appearance of Durge. I've already talked about Dr. Aphra number 11, which is Durge's first appearance within Marvel canon, as well as his first cover appearance. But Dr. Aphra number 10, he makes a cameo at the end of that book. And that one, there are a bunch of them sold, and they're still really cheap. And I think they're cheap because, number one, it's a cameo for Durge, the bounty hunter. But number two, he's not on the cover. Whereas in Dr. Aphra number 11, he is. But I do think this one's worth looking at. This one was a 1 in 25 ratio variant as well. So for every 25 of the regular cover, only one of these have been made. And I thought this was a fantastic deal, whoever got this one. It's not a great cover, though, I have to admit. It looks like it's got Sanastaros, Aphra, and I think that's Ronan Taggy. I can't pronounce his name. But this was the variant edition, 1 in 25. That sold for $41 plus shipping. I thought that was a fantastic deal for any 1 in 25 ratio variant. And it's not a terrible cover. It's just not as great as the Dr. Aphra number 11 standard cover. This is where I thought was probably the best deal on these Dr. Aphra 10s that sold. This same seller had a number of different versions, but this was called the Hetrick Virgin Edition. There was only 500 of these made. It's a really great comical cover. It's got Dr. Aphra kind of wincing and hiding behind a stormtrooper. It's just a really cool. It really captures Dr. Aphra's demeanor and kind of the tone they go for in her comic books. And I wanted to bid on it, but I've got so much other stuff in process right now. I have to draw the line at some point, but I wish I had. Now that I saw the sales price, it sold for $68 plus shipping for one of 500 made. And, even fewer of those have been graded 9.8. That's a really great deal. That's a really great deal. And it just perfectly encapsulates her kind of it's comedy combined with action. And that's why I think that people love her as a character. I think that she's going to make a great Disney Plus appearance or her own show. She's kind of the amalgamation of Han Solo and Indiana Jones, and just a fantastic character. And I love that cover. Here's another one that's really low on the census, and this is the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. It's got Dr. Aphra on the front. This is a second printing. It's got her murder droid behind her on that. That one sold for $68. So if you got a lower end budget and you want to collect a graded comic, look for these kind of offshoots. They're not exactly key issues, but they're low census issues. They're affordable. And if she does make an appearance, there's always going to be a trickle down, right? You have the first appearance issue, which will always be the highest. And then you have the trickle down to like her first solo edition, which was, I believe, in 2017, Dr. Aphra number 1. And then it trickles down from there to cover appearances, to secondary character first appearances like Sanastaros and Magna Tolvan, her love interest, and then you have ones like this. So I just think that, it all depends on your budget and what you want to collect, but there's lots of really great options out there. And take a look at the census. If you're looking to collect graded Dr. Aphra books or whoever the character is, take a look at the CGC census, type it in, see how many of them are out there, and you might stumble upon a really good deal. Here's another one that we talked about briefly, but it's probably worth a look too. This is the first mention in comics of Dr. Aphra's name, and that's Darth Vader #2. The very next issue is her first full appearance and first comic book cover appearance, but this can still be had for really cheap. This one just sold for $80. It's Dr. Aphra's first mention. It's never going to be nearly as valuable as her first comic book appearance in the very next issue, but there are a number of different printings for this book, and it makes sense to consider it if the first appearance comic is out of your price range. And it's still a great cover. It's got Darth Vader kind of doing his march, the cape flowing, the kind of it perfectly captures Darth Vader's appearance. And Adi Granoff is known for doing a lot of great Darth Vader covers, and this is another one of them that's very affordable. Another one that we haven't talked about that I think is worth a look, especially given the price point, is this one. I put this on my watch list as soon as it hit the market, and it sold immediately. And I think it's worth one to consider. This is Kanan, the Last Padawan #7. And what's the importance of this? Well, it's the origin story of Caleb Dune, and it's a great cover. It shows Caleb Dune, who later becomes Kanan Jarrus. It's got 2-1B medical droid. It's got the back to tank. It's just a great cover. But it's a minor key within the Kanan series. Clearly, Kanan #1, Kanan #6 are the two big ones. You got Kanan #12, which is the first cameo of the Grand Inquisitor and Ray Sloan. But there are other minor keys, like Kanan #5 is the second cameo appearance of the Rebels team, and then you got Kanan #7, which is kind of the origin story for Caleb Dune / Kanan Jarrus. So that's a great one to consider for $80 with free shipping. That's an awesome deal. So just keep an eye out for that. There's not many of those on the census either, so you're gonna have to keep an eye out for that one. I know I talk about the High Republic a lot, so I'll keep this one brief. I think this might be the only High Republic book, but the prices are starting to creep up very steadily. This is the 1-in-10 ratio variant for High Republic #1, which is kind of the first appearance of most of the main protagonists within the High Republic era. So the 1-in-10 ratio variant, retail incentive variant, again, that's, for every 10 standard covers, one of these was covered. It also has the first cover appearance of Lorna D on the right-hand side. She is kind of the second in command for Marchion Ro, the main villain. And I think you need to start really considering getting these High Republic issues now, because this one sold for $115. That's already about 40 to 50% higher than what I paid for mine. And I only bought mine like a month ago. But there's already rumblings that there's going to be a High Republic universe movie that's in the works, and is going to be the first kind of major movie release within, before they come out with the Old Republic. They've already announced that the Eclipse video game that's coming out in a year or two. So it's now is the time to get these while they're cheap, and you can get the first print regular cover for like $60, if that, graded in a 9.8. Raw, you can probably pick them up for $5 to $8. So now's if you're looking to kind of speculate on the High Republic universe, now's the time to start really looking at those, because they're starting to jump now. Another book that we talked about that I recommended picking up, and it did sell, is this one. This is the origin of Vader's red lightsaber and how he kind of made that, how he constructed that weapon. Clearly, we're going to have Hayden Christensen coming back within the Obi-Wan series, but Darth Vader #5 from the 2017 series. There's a lot of good books in that 2017 series, folks. You need to go look at Key Comic Collector and check out that 2017 Darth Vader series. There's like 5 or 6 really nice keys that are relatively inexpensive, but this is one of them. It's a great cover. It shows Anakin Skywalker behind the mask with the shattered eyepiece. Just an awesome cover. And that one sold for $125. So be on the lookout for more of those, because there's not many of those on the census. Okay, now let's get back to Black Krrsantan. his first appearance comics at, within 24 hours of the Book of Boba Fett's episode 2 dropping, which we've already covered at length in a video earlier this week. The prices have skyrocketed. So FOMO has set in for a lot of collectors, and my caution to you is, by the time you're watching this video, be patient. The prices will come back down. Black Krrsantan looks awesome, and clearly now that he's part of the live action canon, people are going nuts. But some of the prices have gotten a little ridiculous. This one was still before prices got crazy over the course of January 5th when the episode dropped. But this one sold for $150. This is Darth Vader #1, the John Tyler Christopher action figure variant. So that's one worth looking at and considering. If you can get it for that $150 and under price range, that's probably a good price. But wait for an auction, because now people are, some eBay sellers they're like jackals. All right. So as soon as they see a big first appearance happen, they immediately overprice their books. And a lot of idiots are paying the prices. So don't overpay for the books. They'll come back down. Wait for the Book of Boba Fett series to kind of, the season 1 to kind of finish up. And 2 or 3 months later, the prices come back down, right back down again. It happens like clockwork for pretty much everything. And so just be patient or wait for an auction. This was another one. There are a number of different covers, as I talked about already. There's like 10 or 15 different covers if you start including the store exclusives and the different printings, first, second, third, fourth printings. So just be patient. But this is another cool one. This was an Adi Granoff cover for that same book. This one sold for $190 plus $15 shipping. So already they're over $200. A month or two ago, this was like $100 max. So just be patient. But that is another great cover that looks awesome. I love that steam rising off of Vader's saber, and it's a cover that we haven't talked about lately or at all. Really briefly, I'm kind of going in order of sales prices for the most part, starting with the cheapest and getting more progressively more expensive. But this is one that we hadn't talked about. I have mentioned Droids #1 from the Dark Horse line. It's got a black embossed cover. It's one I've picked up. But if you can find this one, this is clearly the better option. But for you action figure collectors out there, obviously we had the Target exclusive Droids figures that just came out, and it got me nostalgic for Droids #1 from the vintage Marvel run back in 1986. It's a little bit comical of a cover. It's not great, but it's cool. I mean, I like it a lot. And this one actually sold at auction. You don't see this one come up too much at auction, but it sold for $213 plus $10 shipping. And by way of comparison, for the Dark Horse Droids #1, the black embossed cover that I've shown in a recent kind of market update, as well as my personal comic collection, I think I paid $150. So to me, I would rather pay $213.50 plus $10 shipping. So let's call that $225 versus $150 for the Droids #1 Dark Horse that came out in like the 1990s. This is a much better investment, but I just hadn't seen one come up yet, and the timing wasn't great for me. But I'd love to get this one to pair with the Dark Horse comic cover. It would be really cool. But this is a better deal, in my opinion. Okay, creeping up in price now. We're at Star Wars Republic #52. Now, this is one I'd recommended to pick up between $200 and $225. Well, Durge, apparently, people are starting to speculate that Durge is going to show up in one of these comics, or excuse me, one of these Disney Plus shows. And my guess is the most logical appearance is going to be in the Obi-Wan series, because Obi-Wan and him have a history dating back to the Clone Wars. And Obi-Wan or Anakin, I can't remember who, I think it was Obi-Wan, force pushed him in the Dark Horse comics into a star to quote-unquote kill him. Well, as we know, Marvel has brought him back. With and Dr. Aphra #11 was his first full appearance. But we're starting to see the prices on those Dark Horse books really creep up. This is a good example of that. This is Durge's second comic book appearance and his first cover appearance. And it's also the second comic book appearance, I believe, of Asajj Ventress. So, and this one was like around $200 or $225 when I recommended it. Now it's selling at $300. So be on the lookout for that book. This was a buy it now situation. So maybe in a auction, you might get closer back to that $200 to $225 price point. And that's the price point I would recommend. If you're going to pay $300, be patient and get Star Wars Republic #51, which is his first comic book appearance, Durge's first comic book appearance. I wouldn't pay $300 for this one. I'd pay $250 and under. It's probably a good price range. Okay, going back to Darth Vader #1, this is where the FOMO started to set in yesterday. It was just fun watching all the prices just bing, bing, bing go nuts on Darth Vader #1. Again, this book sold as recently as about 3 weeks ago for $85 plus shipping. This one sold for $250. So we're talking triple. It tripled in less than 24 hours. Be patient. Be patient. I think you'll be able to pick that one back up again for, I'd say, under 150. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but to me, if you're going to be paying $250, pay $350 to $400 for Dr. Aphra's first appearance, and we'll talk more about that in a little while. But maybe by the time you see this book, Dr. Aphra's back above $400. She has had such a wild price swing, and we'll talk more about that. And again, this one just sold today, January 6th. This was an autographed version, so admittedly, it's got a signature series signed by both Adi Granoff and Edgar Delgado. So that's why this one's a little bit more expensive. But that one sold for $325 plus $14 shipping. So now one book that we haven't talked about, and I probably should have talked about this in Monday's Star Wars news and rumors, but I just didn't get around to it, and the video was already running kind of long. But apparently some of the Lucasfilm employees received some gifts as over the holidays, and it alluded to a Tales of the Jedi cartoon that is in the works for Disney Plus. And as a result, the Tales of the Jedi #1 comic completely went stratospheric. The price increase and the number of units sold were just crazy, and it was mentioned in a number of the different cover price updates that it was in the top 10 for this week. So that's apparently going to be happening. It's all rumor at this point, but apparently Lucasfilm employees did receive a Tales of the Jedi kind of gift that mentions that this cartoon is going to be coming. So as a result, a CGC 9.8 of Tales of the Jedi #1 sold for $300 plus shipping. I mean, it's a cartoon which typically do not do as well as live action kind of content that's coming. So keep that in mind. I don't know enough about the Tales of the Jedi line of comics to be intelligent on them, but it's just, I wanted to raise it on your radar that if you are Star Wars collectors, comic book collectors, that Tales of the Jedi is kind of on the hot list right now, and just be aware of that. And you could probably pick up these pretty cheap at your local comic shop, ungraded for, $5 to $20. $20 is probably pushing it. I think $5 to $10 would be very doable. So just be on the lookout for those if you happen to be sorting through the dollar bins. All right, now here's another one that I talked about recently, and we've set a new price high for Star Wars Darth Vader #6, which is the first full appearance and first cover appearance of the Inquisitor, the Grand Inquisitor. Now, this was a book that was recommended to me by Team CGC 9.8. I want to make sure I give credit where credit is due. Team CGC 9.8 is a YouTuber. He knows the comic book market way better than I ever will. But he recommended this book over a year ago, and I took his advice and I bought it. And it is now officially doubled in less than a year. So thank you to Jerry over at Team CGC 9.8 for recommending this book. So this one just sold for $325 plus $10 shipping. That's over double what I paid for it less than 9 months ago. So this book is going to continue, I think, to creep up. And if we get confirmation that the Grand Inquisitor is coming to the Obi-Wan series, again, in the concept art for the Obi-Wan series, we saw who appeared to be the second sister, one of the Inquisitorius. But if we see the Grand Inquisitor make an appearance on that show, this book is going to go from $325 to double that. It's going to be $600 is my guess. So keep that in mind. If you see one come up for auction that's more reasonably priced than $325, I think $325 is speculative. It's a little on the high end. If you can get that closer to $250, that would be the price point I would aim for, and where it's been selling more consistently. But this one did sell for $325. It's an amazing cover. It's an amazing cover. Look, the glow on his face, the saber, the classic Grand Inquisitor and Inquisitorius lightsaber. You've got the Darth Vader helmet with a cut through it. It's just everything about this screams awesome. And I think that this cover, and because it's so dark, it's hard to get in a 9.8 grade. This cover has the potential to be one of those modern classics that you really need to consider and pick up if you can find it in high grade. Okay, going back to Darth Vader #3, which is Dr. Aphra's first cover appearance and first full comic book appearance. This is the first printing. There's obviously the 1:25 ratio variant, La Rocca variant. That one's very, very expensive. You're going to be talking $2,000 plus. $2,000 to $2,500 is the price range for that one. But if you're looking for the first printing, this is what it looks like. Now, this was consistent. I mean, the price ride on this, folks, has been insane. It was around $350, then it got up to $400, then it got up to $500, then it came back down to $400. That's where I pulled the trigger and bought it. I bought it at $400. It's since dropped back down to $350, and that's where this one just sold a couple of days ago, $350 plus $10 shipping. But after Black Krrsantan made his appearance in the second episode of the Book of Boba Fett, it has been creeping up. This one just sold today, January 6th, for $400 shipped, so $380 plus $20 shipping. My gut tells me that by the time this video releases, we're going to be closer to $450. We'll see if that happens or not. And you're welcome to go check out eBay prices for Darth Vader #3 after you watch the video to see if I'm right or not. But I have a feeling because Black Krrsantan showed up, collectors are already thinking that, oh my gosh, Dr. Aphra is going to be next, because Black Krrsantan plays a major role within the solo comic book series for Dr. Aphra. So if she's going to be next, who knows? I think it's unlikely that they drop Dr. Aphra immediately during season 1. If they do, it would be really cool. Me personally, I'm on the fence on this. I don't know, because I'd rather that Lucasfilm and Disney slow play Dr. Aphra to give us time to get her first appearance books. The first appearance runs now apparently about $350 to $400. The second appearance, you're probably talking $200 to $250. Excuse me, the second print, you're running $200 to $250. The third print is much more scarce. You're probably talking $450 for that one. And so the third and fourth prints are they're produced in much lower numbers. In terms of print run, the first print was about 85,000. The second print was about 35,000 in terms of units printed. The third print was more like 6,000 to 7,000 units printed. And I think the fourth print went back up slightly. So the third and fourth print are going to easily be your most expensive, with the exception of the 1:25. The first and second print are pretty heavily printed, so you should be able to find that in a 9.8, depending on your budget. If your budget doesn't allow for the first print, look at the second print, because I still think it's a good investment, and it's actually lower printed than the first print. So just some print numbers for those of you out there looking for one of the 4 different printings for Darth Vader #3. Okay, going again back, I'm kind of skipping around, but it's all based on price point. Darth Vader #1, this is the Campbell 1 in 50. And so this, for every 50 of the regular first print of Darth Vader #1, we had one of these, the Campbell variant. This is the 1 in 50. So rightly so, this one sold for $350, best offer accepted. And my gut tells me that this is going to be closer to $500 by the time all the FOMO folks start gobbling up these prints. But this is actually a great cover. It's got Luke Skywalker in a hologram form with a spy droid. It's got Darth Vader with some stormtroopers and all the different Star Destroyers behind him. It's a pretty epic cover. So my gut tells me that this one's going to go stratospheric, given that it's a 1 in 50, but who knows? And then another one, Darth Vader #1 is this one. This is the first Black Krrsantan, and we've talked about this in my last episode on Monday. It does appear to be Boba Fett, but I haven't been able to confirm that. But it's got Boba Fett's outfit. It's got the same boots, his same rocket and wrist gauntlets and all that. So this is another good one, and it sold for $400 plus $15 shipping. So you're going to be paying big money for these, at least in the short term. Again, my advice is to wait until after the first season is over for the Book of Boba Fett, which should be later in February. My gut tells me that these are going to come right back down again, just like everything else tends to do after the first season wears off and people kind of move on to something else. Finally, this is what I was alluding to. This is the third print for Dr. Aphra. This one sat forever. It sat forever, but as soon as Black Krrsantan made his appearance, this one sold immediately. But this is a third print, which has a print run of about 7,000. It's like 6,800 was the number I found when I looked online. And this one sold for $440 plus $13 shipping. And so that's what I say. If you want the third print, it's going to run you about $450. It should be a little bit more expensive than the first print or excuse me, yeah, a little bit more expensive than the first print, and about double the price of the second print, but less than the fourth print. So just keep those numbers in mind. But that's what the third print looks like. It's got a green background. All the printings just have different backgrounds for the cover. That's how you can tell them apart. And obviously they're labeled on the CGC label if you're going to buy them already graded. That's all I really had. I know that's a lot of information, but I just try to help people out as, you know, it's a fluid market, right? As a first appearance shows up on Disney Plus, the comic book market reacts accordingly. And my gut tells me that by the time you even watch this video, this data is going to be even more outdated. It's just crazy how quick the market reacts to one 10-second appearance of one character and how it affects prices going forward. If you enjoy this kind of content and you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps out the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back soon.